Everybody, welcome to an... Whoops, I pushed the wrong button, so we start recording. I need to push that button. Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me today, as you saw just a second ago, two of my most experienced friends that have worked with me, Rob Morse and Amanda Suffecol. Notice I didn't say two of my oldest friends. But two people that have the most experience working with me and that I trust the most, simply because the reason I asked them both on the air today is we've got some very, very important stuff to talk about. And I think most of the time we have, it's going to be a shock to me if we get out of here in 30 minutes. I think most of the time we have, we're going to be spending talking about the Senate. Because in 24 hours, the Senate has done what it usually takes the Senate 6 to 8 months to do. And that's move for gun control, to be honest.
I figured that you had us on because you could swear for the next half hour, but you wanted to share the load between Amanda and I.
Well, there is that. So no kidding, this has happened within... 26 hours. Within the last 26 hours, we had a bill drop. We had it go to committee, it get voted out of committee, and cloture voted on. And
you have to explain what cloture means.
Cloture is a rule in the Senate where 60 people have to vote to stop debate. And that is why very seldom do you get anti-gun bills out of the Senate, because it's hard to get 10 Republicans to go along with 50 Democrats to say, yes, let's go ahead and vote on this. And
right.
Last night it happened because the 10 that went along with building the framework, they added 4 more to that. And they
added 5. They added 5 to it because one of the 10 was not there, though they voted they sent a note saying that they were pro it. They just were not there for the vote. So there was originally 10 Republicans. They added 5 more Republicans. One of the first original 10 did not vote.
Okay.
So there was, we threw 18, 19, and 21-year-olds under the bus. They now cannot own, is it long guns or it has not been, it was not voted on to pass it. It was voted on to move it ahead.
Yes.
So everything that we're talking about is not a done deal, though it does look very dire.
It does.
So,
it does. And so let me do what I always do and put up the number for the U.S. Capitol switchboard, 202-224-3121. There is nobody in the office. Please, please, please call them tonight. Leave a voicemail. Call them tomorrow. Talk to a live staffer in the morning. Call them at lunch. Talk to a live staffer. Call your senator's home offices. There's more than one in every state for every senator, so make 4 or 5 phone calls tomorrow. I don't care if your senator is Dianne Feinstein. Call all of her numbers multiple times. If your senator is like mine, John Thune, very solidly pro-gun, call all of his numbers. If no matter who your senator is, call all of their numbers. This is the time, more than any other time, we need to push.
Now, the interesting part, when you said your guy is solidly pro-gun, so is Joni Ernst.
Yes.
So Joni Ernst is on the list, yet I would have prior to today said that she was never anything but solid. So, yeah.
And see, here's where I have a problem. a compromise means you get something, we get something. And I'm reading through parts of the bill and through summaries of the bill. I don't see that we got anything. It's like,
No.
oh, you want to keep 18, 19, and 20-year-olds from having ARs, national reciprocity. Okay. How about getting, and then Biden said that the federal firearms manufacturers, listen to that, I missaid that, federal ammunition manufacturing plants couldn't sell excess ammunition to the civilian market. Get rid of that. Just come on, give it up. But I can't see anything that we got. So
No.
why was any even marginally to a Republican in this bill at all? What did we get?
Screwed.
That's the interesting part. I mean, because when you look at it, it's like, okay, so how, they're talking about mental health and what are they going to do with it? I really thought that was going to be the sticking point for conversation because the left was not going to allow mental health when it came to guns to be included in here. I really thought that was going to be the sticking point. And so it's a very weird place that we are. And then what does Mitch McConnell get out of this? So really, what does Mitch McConnell get out of this?
So, okay, I think you just did something brilliant. You said for the electorate, for the conservative electorate, for the Republican and independent electorate, we're going, I don't see that there's anything here that we want. So you then brought it up. Why? Okay, this wasn't done for the electorate. It was done for the politicians. What does McConnell get? Bloomberg money? Oh, he would rather remain the minority leader than the leader of the majority of the Senate?
He would not have a chance to be the leader of the majority. They would vote on someone else.
Right. Was so this
better
a way?
Better the king in a small kingdom than to be left aside when the kingdom got bigger?
I think that's what was this we'd rather lose if we'd rather alienate the conservative and I'll call them Republican part of the party and leave it as the establishment rhinos in charge, because we had Romney, Graham. Who else are the usual suspects?
Okay, and let me throw one name out there that is in the sellouts. That these are, with the exception of this guy, and I've been searching as we've been opening the show. One guy in the Senate voted to move this along that is up for re-election this year and is running to keep his seat. That is Todd Young out of Indiana. And he's up this year.
But the majority of them, that's the crazy part, is that they are 2026
4 years
candidates.
Out.
They're 4 years out and they think that we'll forget, or they're not running again. And so we had already talked about the fact that 4 of them are not running for office, and so they don't see it as an issue at all. They get to do whatever they want to do, vote their conscience, as they say, not vote their constituents.
Let me get a couple comments in here real quick, because believe it or not, people are a little passionate about this.
Just a little. I can't imagine.
Well, go to while Paul's typing, go to the GOA website, go to the NRA website, and go ahead and tell your senator what you think. Mike White said they just pushed it through.
Yes.
Well, they didn't do a vote in the Senate, but they did vote. They did push through the vote to submit it to the Senate. Yes.
Yes.
Right.
And the reason that's significant is there are 50 Democrats, 50 Republicans. The 51st vote is Harris.
Yes.
Which means that I will guarantee you for the next few weeks that Joe Biden is not going to decide it's time to resign?
No. Nope. The darling of the Democrat Party is going to bring you a gun control. Now, see, the other part that amazes me, absolutely amazes me, is that we're sitting here and we're looking at this on the day that they start rolling out video of, what is it, Uvalde?
Yes. Uvalde, yeah.
Uvalde.
So Uvalde. And where they showed that the shooter is still shooting and the police officers with all the gear that they said they needed is standing in the hallway. And now it comes out that the door wasn't locked. They had the gear they needed, all of this. And it was
they never even tried the door.
For 50 additional minutes.
Yeah.
50. And so today we're getting gun control as a reaction to that. But the reaction that we ought to have is a big boot in somebody's rear is what we ought to be having.
And Amanda and Rob, I'm sorry. Let me get this one in because this one needs to be addressed. Over on the YouTube side, Mike says, so those rhinos did not listen to our calls or emails as of yet anyway. Mike, it's still important that we get in touch with them now. Mm-hmm. And that is why I included if Feinstein is your senator or if... All of them. Yeah. We need to turn one Democrat and we need to hold all 50 Republicans. This is something, even during Sandy Hook, this is something we didn't have to do. We have to do it now.
Well,
right.
Okay, you're Michael Bloomberg, and you go, I'm going to lose my anti-gun Democrat majority in November. How much money does it cost to buy me what I want? Is that what we're looking at here?
You know, I can't tell you what we're looking at because this is absolutely new to us. We have not seen a reaction that is this quick and that doesn't have some sort of logic to it.
What was fascinating in Uvalde, I think the chief of police was just made a member of the city council.
Yes.
I think that is so he can avoid being forced to testify on certain things.
No, he was actually to do that before it all happened. He was slated to. Yes. So he was slated to, and they had put the date together. There was supposed to be this pomp and circumstance event to do it, and it was scheduled to happen the day that the very first funeral was to happen. So they canceled all of that and just quietly
did it anyway.
Sign him in. Mm-hmm.
I want to mention...
They get rid of all the pomp and circumstance, yes.
Because what is amazing to me, if there were... Amanda, you've taken the training that school staff take in Ohio before they're allowed to be armed in school. So you've seen the gun handling part, the mediation, the hand-to-hand part, the first aid part. And in the back of our minds, always, I've taken that class as well, is the police are coming. We just have to survive long enough that they get here. And now from what we've seen in Uvalde, you go, no, we pretty much have to solve it all because they may never come.
They may never come.
Yeah. They'll show up, but they're I said this yesterday, and I'll say it probably a million more times before my career on the air is done. There is no more to protect and to serve. They are not there to protect you, not that they ever have been. You always have been, but you certainly now are on your own.
See, to me, the absolute shame of it is that I know many police officers who this would absolutely wrench their heart. I mean, there is that.
I'm sure it is.
They're in a spot, and I feel for these officers. So you're trained to follow orders. You're in a group. You're trained that you will risk the life of another officer if you break rank, and you're hearing all of this and the orders are this. At what point, when the Border Patrol guy came through and said, I need somebody, 2 broke rank and went with him.
Yeah.
And during all this, they were fighting parents who said, screw it, I'll go in there barehanded.
I believe that they disarmed a police officer and sent him out.
Yeah.
So it's going to come out. Yeah. Fewer police stations, more barbershops. It's brilliant, George.
That was funny yesterday still. Okay, are we gonna explain that? Because
yeah, let's again, for the people who are maybe just starting to view us today, the Border Patrol special agent who stopped it was at a barber shop when this whole thing went down. His wife was a teacher there and sent him a text saying, there's somebody killing kids in here, we're dying. He grabbed the shotgun from the barber. The barber handed him a 12 gauge. He went over to the school and with a couple of other Border Patrol agents went in, disregarded the chief in charge
from the police, yes,
and just ended it. So let's going back.
He did not have body armor. He did not have a patrol rifle or a ballistic shield. He had him in a shotgun.
He had the barber's shotgun that he wasn't even sure what's in it. Yeah. I mean, think about this. You're getting someone else's gun. How many bullets? What kind of bullets? What do you have?
Yeah, is it double-aught buck? Is it a slug? Is it birdshot?
Right.
You know what he had? You know what he had?
Guts.
Determination to solve the problem.
Exactly.
I'm going to go solve it or die trying. And that is what we expect from law enforcement when our kids are involved.
Right.
Don't tell me about your union contracts.
I think I do not know which, because this comment came in 6 minutes ago. I do not know if he's talking about the police at Uvalde or the politicians that push through. It could go to either, but I kind of agree on both. Mike says they were scared, just plain old cowards.
Yeah.
And then John over on the Facebook side says Bloomberg spent $1 billion to run in the Democratic primary and $100 million to buy Florida for Biden in the general election. Deep pockets. There is that, but there's how many 100 million of us? There's at least 100 million gun owners. I think myself closer to 150 million gun owners. We all have these little wonders of technology here. It doesn't cost me anything other than my cellular plan to make a phone call. I can call an 800 number, as you can from a home phone, but I can even call a Washington, D.C. number that's not an 800 number. It doesn't cost me anything. I can call a Pierre, South Dakota number from this number. If I called it from my home phone, it would be long distance, not from here. I can call any number in the United States. There's no long distance. It's free for me. So,
and you are suggesting that we use that free phone call to contact our lawyer, or were you thinking of a senator?
I'm thinking of contacting all of your elected representatives.
I mean, because the real point is Bloomberg can spend money and it lines their pockets, but votes are what matters. Constituents are what matters. So the thing that they do is that they are looking for how do they reach more voters? How do they impact more voters? They see Bloomberg money as a way to reach more voters. But if the voters turn on them, i.e. call on the phone, that is the strength of this. And Gerald's point is absolutely right. So when the kids are involved, when our kids are involved, there is they are our future. We've lived, frankly, it's the spot where if you have an opportunity, you've lived your life. They have not.
Right. So, and Amanda, the people who taught you and I to defend children were law enforcement officers, right? There were some civilians in there.
Right.
Absolutely.
But, yes.
But half of them were LEOs. This has to be tearing at their heart. And then the Texas head of the Department of Public Safety came out and said, there's no way that what they did was anything like the way we train. It was a complete mess. So it's a failure to act on the part. And at some point, when do we have to say we need independent minds in the schools? Because if one person in leadership can stop our children from being protected, then we can't put authority in an individual. We need armed staff.
You know, and let me go back to a story from last week. And I've been up until yesterday, I was out for most of a week with an illness, but last week a story came across. Ohio got armed teachers again. The governor signed the bill. And the Cincinnati school district has now said, we don't care what the law says, we are forbidding any teachers in the Cincinnati school district from being armed, period. So it even goes down to your local school board elections.
But the law allows them to be armed, does not force them to be armed.
Right.
That is how the Ohio law is written. And so it is up to the discretion of the school board of your school district, of your city. So it gets more and more important to how do you get involved, and getting involved in a manner to where, guess what, you're going to run for school board, because these asshats are not capable of making decisions that put our kids first.
Yes. Let me underline that. The law that passed in Ohio empowered local school boards. If they wanted to build an armed teacher program, it set some guidelines, some minimums. Go forth or not, as you think, as you represent the voters who put you in office. Go do what you think you should do. Well, now we're going to find out if they represent the voters or some special interests. So it'll be fascinating in Ohio. I got a text from a friend, and Paul, I think I mentioned this with you. There are a number of programs in Texas. Some of them have elaborate training requirements, and some of the school districts are saying, nah, we're going to authorize armed staff. Get out of our way.
Right.
And they're putting out a fairly broad request to the staff. It's not, well, just the ex-military guy or the superintendent that happens to be in an adjacent building. It's across the entire range of school staff.
Yeah. I love this comment from Mike. When you're scared, fear takes over and everything else is out the window. That is why they could not go in. Fear took over. Mike, I don't even know.
Mike.
I want to be fair to the officers that were in the hallway. I know a lot of police, and of the police I know, to a person, they are incredibly brave individuals. I think what may have happened, and I'm not going to speak about any of the individual officers, what may have happened happens with pilots when they get information overload, they get overwhelmed with what's going on, they just freeze up. And
See, these guys had direct orders. And so it's a conflict in their training. I mean, you follow orders, you follow the chain of command. There is someone in charge that has more information than you do, supposedly. You follow orders. So that's where I'm waiting, because what we're hearing is more and more of this. I mean, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be career ending. And I believe that in the long run, there are going to be officers who hang up their shield. because they cannot live with the choices that they believe they were forced to make.
I love the wording on this one. I kind of think most of them are following orders, waiting frantically for go-ahead. I love your wording, Gerald. I love that.
Yep.
Well, the old, and we learned this after Columbine. If you and the local dog catcher are the first two guys to show up, you go
in. Right. Obviously, they didn't have that directive. They didn't have that training. And they're, it's going to be interesting, Rob. You and I are extremely interested in this topic enough that we research it, that we look at it. We look at best practices. We find out who's doing what and what works and what doesn't work. These guys are doing, they have to do best practice for everything that law enforcement does. So did they get to this spot? And I don't know, and so I don't want to color every officer with this. But I want to say that I find it so unpalatable that today we're seeing that story at the same time the Washingtonians, whatever you call them, they are passing legislation to restrict more and more so that we depend on the government more and more, and that we are not our own first responders when we see how well or not this turned out.
Right. In the face of abject government failure, we're told to make citizens weaker. It's not. Now, this bill that is being forwarded into the Senate would not have stopped the Sandy Hook shooting.
No.
It wouldn't have stopped the mass murder at the Pulse nightclub in Florida.
No.
Because I believe because of the firearm involved, it would not have stopped the attack on an Ohio school where the disturbed individual murdered his grandfather to get the firearms. So, yeah, it is using a tragedy as an excuse without addressing the problem. I did hear something, was it yesterday, Paul, that one of the listeners chipped in? The real issue is that teachers and students don't have the same armed defense that our senators have. Maybe the solution is to give the Senate the same armed defense our schools have.
I like that.
We'll just call the police. Hang on, guys. We've made the call. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. They'll be here in 58, 59, 60 minutes.
Let's I do want to get this in. We're already into Magnum territory for the show, but I want to get this in.
I'm sorry.
No, it's great stuff. SAF put a press release out quite literally less than an hour ago. And this comes from the home office up in Bellevue. 3 major sports teams, the San Francisco Giants, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Philadelphia Eagles, plus other businesses, have been recently added to the Do Not Feed Them list of anti-gun rights businesses by the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. This comes after some 200 businesses signed a letter to the U.S. Senate demanding that Congress take action on gun safety, gun control, in the form of new legislation. All the businesses who signed the letter have been added to the CCRKBA list, greatly expanding the current roster. Quote, when we expanded this project last year, we promised our members and supporters there would be occasional updates, and we keep our promises. We simply read down the list of people and companies that signed on to the Senate letter and added their names. That's Alan Gottlieb, my boss. And let me go on down in here. Last year,
Paul,
yeah, go ahead.
You may have just answered the question that we were pondering for a half hour. There were, I believe, about that number of businessmen in Texas who said, you should do something about gun control, John Cornyn. Meaning, if you make palatable legislation, will make sizable campaign contributions. Is that why we see Cornyn doing this? Again, he's doing it for money. It might not be Bloomberg. It might be some liberal businessmen in Texas who are funding him.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. It's there's a reason. It's just not a reason that benefits the U.S.
Average
population.
citizen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm to be quite frank, I am surprised there aren't more sports teams there. I'm surprised the NFL in general didn't
It's still
make it
early.
there.
It's still early.
I want to put this up over on the screen. This is a screenshot of my other monitor, but this is just the beginning of the list of businesses that made that list that are anti-rights businesses that are demanding gun control. Of course, you see Dick's Sporting Goods and Disney in there, DoorDash, just Gateway Computers. I didn't even know they were still around, but yeah, there's. I keep scrolling, but like I said, we're already over time. Mm-hmm. We all knew about Levi Strauss. Lyft is in there. So yeah,
I'm shocked that MSNBC is on that list.
Yeah,
shocked, I say.
Right.
Really. Patagonia, that one does surprise me a little bit.
Not me.
They're so woke.
They are Birkenstock marching. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Shake Shack, that's unfortunate.
Exactly.
Sonic, that's kind of unfortunate too. I like a chili dog every once in a while, and they've got good commercials.
So it's not a done deal. Pick up your phone. Right. Politicians can make mistakes. Our job as citizens is to make them politically expensive, right? So that we get to say later, we told you we didn't like this. We begged you not to do it. If you're going to do it anyway, we want you to know it's going to cost.
And it's going to cost. So I texted a friend who lives in Jody Ernst district. And so she reached out to Jody Ernst. Well, her first comment back to me was, "You're kidding, right?" And then she added like a Frankfurter word, one of those. and then she's like, "Okay, I reached out." So we'll see what the feedback is on that.
Let me get a couple comments in here, because I believe Michael Schmidt, is in that district as well, and he was commenting directly. And then one more, and then he's got one more comment up here. She's pure rhino. Yeah, that's a neighbor. That's Iowa. That's not South. I know South Dakota politics. I don't so much know Iowa, a little bit, but not a lot.
But remember, politically, Iowa's a constitutional carry state.
It is,
right?
And recent.
They're right. So a lot of pro 2A voters there, and their senators are doing this. Wow.
Right. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's do, because we are, like I said, we're well into Magnum territory. Let me go look back at show notes. I think there was probably one or two other stories I did want to. I want to. Every town is as. I'm getting this story by Dean Weingarten off of Ammo Land. He wrote that this one came up this morning. It seems like every town is trying to take down YouTube videos of even somebody explaining how to use a firearm.
Mm-hmm.
How to clean and repair.
Yes.
Right. They're trying to take things that are perfectly legal and make them offensive to the population. And so that's really what we're facing.
Well, it's a culture war. They want to push the culture of responsible defense off to BitChute or Vimeo. Mm-hmm. Okay.
My question is, how long before they go to YouTube and say, look, that Polite Society podcast is connected with Second Amendment Foundation, and they're telling people how to get anti-gunners out of office. They're telling people how to make influence with their senators. This can't be allowed. And
Right.
YouTube folds.
But they
Yes, they will.
start with
in a heartbreak.
but they start with let's control guns. Let's moderate guns because the guns are bad, and then it'll be the information pertaining to guns. So I mean, it's flat out goes to this erosion of the First Amendment.
Yes. Yeah. I think he wrote. I think that Dean wrote in here. The First and the Second Amendment are tied together.
Mm-hmm.
That he's worked for both of them, and yeah, it's anybody that works in media swears by the First Amendment. I do, not just the Second Amendment. I will fight for the First Amendment, but that means I have to. One of my phrases growing up that I didn't understand, but I absolutely love now. I despise what you're saying, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it. And you don't hear that anymore.
Mm-mm. Nope, you hurt my feelings.
Mm-hmm. You should be shut down, canceled.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let me ask Rob or Amanda. Is there anything else? Any news stories or any topics you guys want to cover? Because we're already long, but I don't want to shut off.
We should again put this in perspective. Guns save lives. Thousands of lives a day. We use a firearm responsibly over 1 million times a year. If we disarm grandma, that means the thugs will run her over. We forget about that because the media has chosen to turn a blind eye to it. That's why I'm so grateful for Paul and the SAF, to the other alternative media, Eye on the Target Radio. Thank you, Amanda. The other alternative media sources that remind us that guns save lives. Thank you.
Paul, wrong screen.
Wrong screen? Oh, that is the wrong screen. How about I do that screen instead? Yes.
There you go.
Yep.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's at the close of the show.
We need a new video. We need a new video director. Sorry.
We're gonna put Crosley. Okay. He's gonna get his own private shot right there in that other box. There you go.
All right. Yep. Let's. Amanda, anything you want to bring up?
No, I think this was good, and I think that folks will tune in every day this week because there's going to be more and more information rolling out every single day. And so stay tuned. And frankly, we need to do all that we can do. And each one of us, by a little bit, each one of us can carry a grain of sand, and pretty soon we can move a mountain.
Amen. I'll put that number back up, 202-224-3121. Definitely tune in tomorrow. We are tomorrow morning and Monday morning are the last 2 days scheduled for releases from the Supreme Court.
Right.
If that comes out tomorrow, that may shut them down a little bit because they'll go into a circle.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Circle the wagons. They need to.
No, I think it's more the the whole let me just curl up in a ball and suck my thumb and cry for my mommy, but because that's where I think that's going. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I'm the one. I talk about politics a lot. I talk about getting.
Imagine.
Well, I talk about getting pro-freedom people elected a lot. I honestly believe one of the things you hear a lot is, well, let's vote the jerks out. Look, if we were going to do that, that would have happened right about the late 90s when the...
and it has to happen in the primary. That's the problem.
Yep.
Is that people, because you sure don't want the other party to win. So the primary is when you get to upgrade your candidates. And these dogs are not, sorry, Crosley, I don't mean to malign dogs. these dogs are just not letting you see their true colors until it's too late. And then they're like, okay, we've got 6 years, so too bad for you, you know?
Yeah. But where I was going is where I honestly believe we're going to make the most progress going forward. Yes, we're going to make, we need to be on the phone with our legislators. We need to stop bad legislation. We need to elect good legislators where we can. We're going to make the most difference in the courts. We're going to make the most difference if you are a member of the Second Amendment Foundation, if you're helping to push lawsuits like the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin. That is going to be out in within a week. We will know. So, SAF.org. Join if you haven't. It's $150 for a lifetime membership. You've got that in your somewhere. You've got that. I know you do. So
the bad news is that 150 is smaller than it used to be. So if you couldn't afford it before, you can afford it now.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Okay, I got to get this one in before we go. I just got to. George, you're right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Sorry, Cross.
Right. Sorry, they're maligning you guys again, right? Your whole breed, buddy.
All right, folks, please do come join me 5 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. We're going to shut this one down. Thank you for watching. Those of you for podcasts, thanks for listening, and please either way, share the show with a friend. And again, we'll catch you next time. See you, everybody.